Live from Shea Stadium in New York. Tonight, the Mets take on the St. Louis Cardinals. New York Mets Baseball 91 is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers with that distinctively clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. New Jersey Bell, a Bell Atlantic company. By Las Vegas, always on the money. By MetLife, get Met, it pays. By your Nissan dealers who challenge you to find a better car or a better deal. By RC Cola. And by Nobody Beats a Whiz Home Entertainment Centers. For everything in home electronics, music, and movies, nobody beats a Whiz. Pitching for the Cardinals tonight, Brent Smith. His record 4 wins and 1 loss, an earned run average of 4.05. And on the mound for the Mets, right-hander David Cone. He has won 3 and lost 3 with an earned run average at 3.88. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, and along with Don Criqui, Tim McCarver on special assignment. And Don, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you with us.
Very nice to be here, Ralph. And we're going to look at a very interesting St. Louis team tonight, as you know. Last year, the Cardinals finished last. First time that's happened to a St. Louis team in 72 years, so they decided to rebuild. But instead of a rebuilding team, they right now have a contending team. Just a game and a half out of first place behind the Pirates in the NL East, with the Mets now dropping back to third. Still 2 games behind Pittsburgh.
And, of course, the New York Mets playing the St. Louis Cardinals for the first time. Don with us from NBC Sports. And it should be a fine matchup. Brent Smith making a strong comeback this year on the mound for the Cardinals. And David Cone, who's always tough, going for the New York Mets. Cone with that good fastball, good slider. Also goes down to south of the border with his Laredo sidearm pitch. And we're looking for a good match here, Don.
Well, as you mentioned, Ralph, Brent Smith has really come on this year. He's had a lot of injury problems. He's been at it a long time, off to a 4-1 start. The Mets' book on him is he doesn't give you anything to hit. He keeps things all around the zone, around the strike zone. Changes everything up, a lot of off-speed stuff, but he's a wily old veteran. He's tough to beat.
And we'll be back with the lineups and the start of the ball game right after this message from Budweiser. Welcome back to Shea Stadium and our special guest, Joe Torre, of course, a former manager of the New York Mets, former player for the New York Mets, as a matter of fact. And, Joe, you got your team off and running. A game and a half out of first behind the Pittsburgh Pirates, a half a game ahead of the Mets. How you doing it?
Well, Ralph, I'll tell you, we're doing it with a lot of hustle. As an aggressive style that we put together in spring training. And, you know, when you tell your players it's going to work, and it does, then you get credibility, and that's what we have right now. Plus, we have a great bench. I don't think we lose anything if we sit somebody down.
Well, you certainly have some good young ball players, and the Cardinals have gone that way with the young ball players trying to make a reputation. It certainly is paying off right now.
Well, I think hungry is a good word to use. I've read it several times, and it seems to fit. A real key to our club is our base stealing ability is a little bit better than it was earlier in the year. And I have to credit our first base coach, Davey Collins, because he's with the players all the time, talks to them from, you know, when he's at first base with them. And they just seem to be getting more and more confidence in running the bases, and it really helps our game.
You really have been using the stolen base to your advantage throughout the early part of this year, so it's going to be the same type ball club with the Cardinals with different names, a lot of speed.
That's it. I mean, you know, we're not going to have a Vince Coleman. Obviously, he has the burn-type speed. We don't have too many people like that. You have Langford, who has explosive speed, and the kid is playing second base tonight, Geronimo Pena. But aside from that, we try to cause distractions and hope we can make the other club make some mistakes.
All right, Joe, well, thanks for coming on, and good luck to you.
Thanks, Ralph.
Joe Torre will be back right after this word from RC Cola.
With Ralph Kiner, this is Don Criqui back at Shea Stadium. There's the Mets starter, David Cone, off to a 3-3 start with a 3.88 earned run average. David, of course, the pitcher who led the major leagues in strikeouts a year ago with 233. A quality pitcher with a great arsenal of pitches. And as Doc Edwards said, Ralph, everyone's a quality pitch.
He has good stuff. There's no doubt about that, Don. And he'll be working against this lineup for the Cardinals. Milt Thompson leading off. He's in left, batting second, the shortstop Ozzie Smith. Batting third, the center fielder Ray Langford. Batting fourth and playing first base, the veteran Pedro Guerrero. Batting fifth in right field, Felix Jose. Batting sixth at third base, Todd Zeal, a converted catcher. Batting seventh and playing second base, Geronimo Pena. And the eighth batter will be the catcher, Tom Pagnazzi, followed by Brent Smith, the pitcher.
Now looking at the New York Mets on defense. They'll have Mackey Sasser starting his fifth game at catcher for the Mets. Dave Magadan, after missing last night's game with a stomach infection, is back. Miller is at second base, Elster at shortstop, Howard Johnson will be at third, McReynolds in left, Coleman in center field, and Brooks in right field. Actually, Magadan out 2 nights ago, back in good health. He had a bit of a virus. So the Mets set to go against the St. Louis Cardinals for the first time this season. And the leadoff hitter for St. Louis will be Milt Thompson. He is hot, batting .417. 1 homer and 5 RBIs. Thompson's veteran, 32 years old. Coming off a disappointing year. He hit just .218 last season for the Cardinals. He's a .277 career hitter.
Disappointing is a nice word for it. A miserable year is what it was last year, .218. Can't believe a man with his speed can have a .218 year.
He's got it going right now. .417 he's hitting. And the first offering by David Cone is fouled off for strike 1. Cardinals last year had the worst record in the National League at home. This year so far, at 13-6, they have the best record in the league at home. And playing very well on the road also, as Cone comes inside with a fastball, and the count is evened up at 1-1.
They haven't fared too well here at Shea Stadium over the last 3 years. They've won 5 and lost 22. And Cone with a welcome back pitch right there as he makes Thompson do a little dance.
1-1 pitch with nobody out, and the count goes to 2-1. There's the ex-Cardinal Tommy Herr back in '85, adding behind Vince Coleman and Willie McGee. He had 110 RBIs for the Cardinals. Did Tommy Herr? Fouled off to the left side, and the count moves to 2-2 with nobody out in the top half of the first inning. Leadoff hitter Milt Thompson. If he gets on, he's a good chance that he'll be stealing. Last season he attempted 30 steals and was successful 25 times. Joe Torre from nearby Brooklyn, New York, signed by the Milwaukee Braves out of St. Francis Brett. And David Cone gets the leadoff hitter Milt Thompson with a K, and there's 1 out.
Well, David Cone going to the split finger fastball here, and it drops right out of the strike zone, and Thompson down swinging. Cone now with 44 strikeouts on the year, as Don pointed out earlier, led the major leagues in strikeouts with 233.
Here's the 36-year-old all-star Ozzie Smith having a terrific year, as the first pitch is outside for ball 1. Ozzie coming in hitting .319. He leads the Cardinals with 10 steals. And as usual at shortstop, he's been brilliant, has not committed an error so far this season. Ball 2. As Cone is low on his second pitch to Ozzie Smith. There's 1 out, nobody on. Mets and the Cardinals at the Big Shea. Greg Jeffrey's not in the starting lineup tonight. And even though it's not talked about a lot, Ralph, that rib injury is still bothering him.
He did have the flu too, so he missed last night's ball game, but at least is in uniform tonight.
Cone with a breaking pitch gets the outside corner, and the count goes to 2-1 on Ozzie Smith. Ozzie projecting publicly that he might not be a Cardinal next year. Might be traded. They're moving towards younger players, but of course, as the count goes to 2-2, Ozzie, a 5-10 man, can improve where he goes, and he says that he's given the Cardinals a list of teams that he'd be agreeable to being traded to, but doesn't believe they've contacted any of them, as he fouls the pitch off, out holding it 2-2 with 1 out.
He comes at a very high price, and of course he is putting some miles on. He's getting up there in age, doesn't have the range he used to have, but he's sort of an institution with St. Louis. He came to the Cardinals from the San Diego Padres.
Now Cone brings the count with the ball to 3-2. 1 out in the top half of the first inning. Cone with good success against the Cardinals here at Shea. But he lets Ozzie Smith get away, so the Cardinals have the first base runner of the game. And their best base stealer this season is on first base, Ozzie Smith, albeit at age 36.
Even though this is a different ball club, different names, they still play the same type of baseball. It's a running game for them. They have 52 stolen bases. They've attempted it 80 times, so you can expect them to be going. There you take a look at the ex-Cardinal, Coleman.
Vince Coleman, I saw him down by the batting cage before the game, Ralph. Said you'd be glad to see your old friend Ozzie Smith. He said, yeah, we were talking about maybe we'd kiss like Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas before the game. They didn't go to that. As Cone goes over and checks Smith at first base.
Oh, and Willie McGee came to Shea Stadium. His glove was stolen, so Coleman let him use his glove in one of the ball games.
David Cone goes back over to Magadan, holding Ozzie Smith close. Langford is the batter. He is a rookie. As you see Smith lead away, Langford hitting .252. He can fly on the bases also. Corey says we don't have a team that hits 3-run homers, but we can manufacture a lot of runs with speed.
They're fourth in runs scored with 167. The Mets have scored 153 runs, and they're eighth in the league in that department, although the Mets have a much better on-base percentage than the Cardinals.
Strike on the outside corner as Cone paints a corner to go 0-1 on Langford, who was at Louisville last year for most of the season, came up in September. Very aggressive hitter, but he's pretty patient for a young player. He can be fooled by the changeup, and David Cone knows that. 0-1 the count with 1 out. Ozzie Smith leads from first. There's no score in the first inning here at Shea.
Talking about Langford, he was an outstanding football player, and earlier this season he put a knock on Dalton, the catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies, and won a ball game by knocking the ball right out of his glove as he came all the way from second to score.
Yeah, Langford at Modesto Junior College rushed for over 1,000 yards as a tailback. They got another rookie they really like in the outfield. He's not starting tonight. They have Thompson starting in left field, but Gilkey, Bernard Gilkey, another player with good defensive skills, terrific speed. And again, David Cone checks Ozzie Smith at first base. There is a threat of rain. A very warm night at Shea Stadium. Temperature about 80 degrees. Very humid and overcast. Langford makes a big cut at it, and the count goes to 1-2 with 1 man out.
Well, there's a change of pace you're talking about, a split finger fastball. It looked like a fastball on the replay, the way they spit it to death, but he was out in front of that pitch.
Keeping Ozzie busy at first base, getting back. I was talking to Cone before the game. He said he really has to rethink the way he pitches now, Ralph, because they're sending so many left-handers at him. Against the Dodgers out on the coast, they had 9 left-handed hitters in the lineup against David Cone.
He's tough on right-hand batters. There's no doubt about it. This game is getting to be more and more of a platoon game. You see specialty players playing this game, mainly because you don't have strong hitters that can hit against both sides, left-handed and right-handed pitching.
Langford with a bouncer to shortstop. Chance for 2. The Mets turn it over. No. Langford with good speed beats it down the line. And so the Mets cannot turn the double play. They do get the second out with the force at second base, but Langford's now on at first.
Ball hit too slowly, really, to get the double play against the speed of Langford. They do get the 1. Miller tries for the double play. It might have been wiser to hold on to the ball. He has not that good a chance. Want to eliminate all the unnecessary throws that you can in this game. Keep from making those unnecessary errors.
Now, deep power steps into the batter's box in Pete Guerrero. Pedro Guerrero, another of the veteran Cardinals, longtime Dodger. You see his numbers, very impressive to start the year. 295. Cardinals don't hit a lot of home runs, primarily because they play at Busch Stadium, really a cavernous ballpark. Last year, St. Louis was last in the National League in home runs and last in runs scored as they finished last in the division. Mets were first in the National League in home runs and in runs scored.
They're last in the league in home runs this year with only 15. But they do lead the league in hitting with a .269 team average. That ballpark is really tough on trying to hit home runs. The ball goes out with some regularity, but not one of the easy ballparks.
Not one of the launching pads, like Atlanta.
Not like Atlanta or Wrigley Field with the wind blowing out.
Guerrero came to the Cardinals in 1988 in a trade for John Tudor, the pitcher who ranks #1 all-time among Cardinal pitchers for winning percentage, won over 70% of his games as a St. Louis Cardinal.
Tudor now out of baseball with that bad arm.
Guerrero with a very bad knee. He has no speed on the bases anymore. Really tore up a knee when he was with the Dodgers.
Here's a big curveball right here, and if you go back to 1988, you'll remember that Pedro Guerrero was kicked out of a ball game for throwing his bat at David Cone, and he was suspended for 4 days and fined $1,000. He was unhappy because David Cone came in on him with a fastball, and he thought he was throwing at him. He just threw his bat at him. Those things are never forgotten.
Joe Torre's wife, Allie, was hit, needed 7 stitches in her forehead. She was hit by a bat that got out of the hands of an Atlanta player.
Slipped out accidentally. I talked to Joe about that. He said she's fine, making their home now in St. Louis. Outstanding catcher, and then played third base. Did the same thing to Todd Zeile. Took him out of that catching paraphernalia and made a third baseman out of him.
Joe said it was a hard sell, but he came back this year to spring training realizing it was the best thing. And of course, Torre made that move from catcher to third base and had a great year in '71 as a third baseman for the Cardinals when he was voted National League Most Valuable Player. Next to him on the right of your screen, the left of Joe, is a great Cardinal, Red Schoendienst. Soft fly ball, high pop. Miller goes back and fields it on the run for the 3rd out to end the inning. So after a half inning of play, the Cardinals get no hits and the Mets are coming to bat. Now this for Nissan. Back at Shea Stadium, Bryn Smith on the mound for the St. Louis Cardinals. You see his numbers. 4-1 start with a .405 earned run average. Bryn Smith had a 9-8 year last season.
And he'll be working to this lineup. Vince Coleman leading off in center. Batting second, the second baseman Keith Miller. Batting third, playing first, Dave Magadan. Batting fourth and playing right field, Hubie Brooks. Fifth batter will be the third baseman Howard Johnson. Batting sixth in left field, Kevin McReynolds. Batting seventh and catching Mackie Sasser. The eighth batter will be the shortstop Kevin Elster, and the pitcher David Cone batting ninth.
And defensively for the St. Louis Cardinals, behind the plate is Tom Pagnozzi. Guerrero's at first base. Gerardo Peña's at second. Ozzie Smith at short. Todd Zeile at third base. Thompson in left. Langford in center. And Felix Jose in right field.
And Vince Coleman betting against his former teammates for the first time.
Bryn Smith with an off-speed pitch gets it in the strike zone. It's 0-1 on Vince Coleman. Smith was on the disabled list for a number of weeks last year. Spent 5 weeks on the DL with a shoulder problem. His best year was back in '85 with the Expos when he won 18 games and lost just 5. We asked Vince Coleman before the game if his former teammates, the Cardinals, might know anything about him as a base stealer other teams don't know.
Every team in the league knows. They only know that they didn't have to worry about me stealing bases against them for the last 6 years because I was with them. But now I think what their game plan is try to keep me off base, and they know once I get on base that I will be running at will, still in second as well as third, and may even take home.
Vince has 27 steals to lead the Mets so far this season. On target to break the Mets all-time record. He's now also going for a 7th straight year leading the National League in stolen bases. And that would be his own record. Right now he's tied with Maury Wills. They both have led the league 6 consecutive years at points in their careers. 3-2 the count now on Vince Coleman. Leadoff runner, if he gets on, numbers project out that 80% of the time he'll score. Coleman with a sharply hit ball into right field for a base hit. Felix Jose, the right fielder, gets the ball back in, so Coleman is on to lead off the Mets half of the first inning with a single. Keith Miller is the batter. We asked Coleman if there was any special thing about coming back and seeing guys like Guerrero he's talking to, and Ozzie Smith, the shortstop, who's such a good friend.
Well, I told him that once I get on base, we're going to act like Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. We're going to kiss each other.
We'll accept that.
He's got about 120 feet to go if he's going to accomplish that.
That's right.
At least he can make 90 feet of it up.
Let's hope he kisses him on the run. There goes Coleman. And he is punched out by Pagnozzi. Great throw by catcher Tom Pagnozzi of the Cardinals, who drilled it right on the bag, and that's where it had to be, as Coleman had a good jump. Pagnozzi, a very good throwing catcher, a good defensive catcher.
Threw out 46% of the runners last year, a very high percentage, and he does a good job on Coleman right there. They have thrown out 23 of the 64 runners attempting to steal this year, so the Cardinal catching doing a tremendous job defensively against the stolen base.
Batter is Keith Miller, who's hitting well. .345, has not had many at bats. No homers, no RBIs. One of the few players who likes the ball over the outside part of the plate. Smith will jam him if he starts leaning that way. There is a ground ball hit down to Smith. Smoothly fielded and thrown to first base. 2 outs in the Mets half of the first inning.
First baseman, number 10, Dave Magadan.
Cardinals had a base runner that went down without a hit in the top half of the first inning. It's 0-0 here at Shea Stadium as Dave Magadan steps into the batter's box for New York. Hitting well below where he is going to be by the end of the year. And it was 3rd in the National League in hitting last season. Fouls the first pitch off for strike 1. 2 outs. Cardinal coaches, Ralph, were talking about Magadan. They say he's so selective that early in the count, if he's looking fastball and gets a fastball and it's not in the part of the strike zone he wants it, he won't go for it.
He right now is being too selective, and he's taking a lot of good pitches to hit and then having a lot of check swings.
That was a good one to hit as Magadan drives it up the middle for a single. And the Mets have a base runner with 2 out and no score in the bottom half of the first inning. And that brings up Hubie Brooks. So you go from a very selective hitter to one who loves to jump on the first pitch. An aggressive first ball hitter, Hubie Brooks, comes in batting .246. Joe Torre said before the game when he got fired, 2 people cried when he got fired by the Mets in '81. His wife and Hubie Brooks. Said Hubie came over and hugged him and was weeping. Hubie came over and gave him a big hello in the dugout.
You mean his dog left him too, huh?
Yes, even the dog held out. Strike 1 called as Bryn Smith hits a corner. Signed with the Cardinals as a free agent in 1990, a multi-million-dollar contract for a lot of years with the Expos. Breaking ball. Fouled off. Strike 2. You're watching Mets Baseball 91 on Universal 9 WWOR TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Don Criqui with Ralph Kiner Tim McCarver away tonight, as the Mets and the Cardinals are in the bottom half of the first inning. There's no score. The Mets with a runner on first base and 2 outs. Hubie Brooks the batter. Howard Johnson on deck, and Brooks goes down firing. So he is taken out by Bryn Smith, and after 1 inning of play, it is 0-0. Now here's a word from Citibank. Back at the Big Shea, we're ready now for the top half of the second inning. And stepping in is a player that the Cardinals feel is a rising star, Felix Jose. Big, strong right fielder from the Dominican Republic.
They got him for Willie McGee in that Willie McGee trade right before September 1st last year.
Yeah, came in from the Oakland A's. I don't know if they'd make that move again. Jose with upper deck power has only 2 home runs, but he has absolutely been ripping the ball the last 14 games.
You know, strangely enough, Felix Jose, his first 2 years in pro ball, hit .217 his first year and .218 his second. Most players would be released after hitting that poorly.
Want him to be a little more selective as the count now goes to 1-2 with nobody out in the top half of the second inning. No score at Shea Stadium. Jose hits from either side and has good power from either side. This one's going to drop. There's Felix Jose with an opposite field single that McReynolds fields, is on first base. And again, the Cardinals get the leadoff runner on. Jose
Third baseman, number 27.
is very good speed on the bases. And defensively, terrific arm and good range. And now Todd Zeile comes in. And he's hitting well. An All-American catcher at UCLA. Joe Torre, as we mentioned, said it was a hard sell to get him to go to third base. Torre told him you're going to play a lot longer if you're at third base rather than wearing yourself out back there. He bought it as the first pitch by David Cone is in for a strike. Nobody out. Jose leads from first for the Cardinals. No score in the top half of the second inning. Torre has worked very closely with Zeile on the transition. He's now also a very confident fielder. On a tear right now over the last 8 games. They don't lead too far off Cone. He's got a good move to first.
He's quick with his move to first. Mets have had good success in throwing base runners out, but with Cerrone and O'Brien, Sasser catching one of the few times this season.
Mackey Sasser behind the plate for the Mets. Had a great run last year over a 6-week period. He really played some terrific defensive catcher. He's known mostly as a hitter. He's geared up looking to throw it. Jose goes, and here's a foul ball off to the right side, and the count goes to 0-2 on Todd Zeile. Nobody out in the top half of the second inning. No score in the game. Cardinals starting tonight. A game and a half behind the Pirates in the NL East. The Mets in third, 2 games out.
You know, Don, it's interesting that Sasser is catching in this game with the Cardinals being such a running ball club.
Ball gets away from Sasser. Jose around second base and makes the turn as Sasser fields it. Sasser had a terrific run throwing out base stealers last year, though. During one stretch, he threw out 11 of 14, including some of the fastest people in the league.
Well, this ball gets away from him. It's really a pass ball. The ball did not even hit the dirt. Got under his glove and scooted on by, and it is being scored as a pass ball.
1-2 the count now. The Cardinals with the first runner of the game in scoring position. Very fast Felix Jose leads from second. David Cone checks him, and Zeile fans at a breaking ball way outside, and the count is now out of there. Todd Zeile sits down.
Well, what a catch Sasser made on this pitch. It's the Laredo pitch, the sidearm fastball. Zeal bails. He's out in New Jersey somewhere in this one. And a good play by Sasser as he goes out to backhanded. That was not an easy play for him. Second strikeout for Cohn.
And now the second baseman, Geronimo Pena, steps in. Pena batting .262 with a homer and 2 RBIs. Cohn misses 1-0 with 1 out. Cardinals are a much more confident team hitting. Talk about won a game at Houston, 7th inning, scored 6 runs after 2 were out. Ball could drop as McReynolds moves over and makes the play. Enough hang time to get under it, and there's the second out of the second inning on St. Louis. And Felix Jose holds at second as Geronimo Pena comes back to the dugout. Now stepping into the batter's box is that hard-throwing catcher Tom Pagnozzi, who gunned down Vince Coleman in the Mets' first inning. Cardinals feel if Pagnozzi can hit .250 where he's at right now, they can hit that for the year. They could be right in it. Just a bonus if he hits because he's such a terrific defender. Now he drives the ball deep to right field. UB Brooks goes back near the warning track, fields it for the final out. So the Cardinals threaten, get a base hit, but no runs after an inning and a half. It is 0-0, and here's a word from BMW. Big moon over the Big Apple tonight as we now go to the bottom half of the second inning. No score on the board. Bryn Smith working for the St. Louis Cardinals. Good holiday weekend crowd at Shea Stadium. David Cohn working well for the Mets. Cardinals did get a runner in scoring position. Jose got to second base after signaling. Easy for me to say, Ralph. Didn't get in. Howard Johnson now steps in. He's hit Bryn Smith well over the years. Johnson was saying before the game he remembers very vividly in '89 he ripped one of the hardest balls he'd hit all season off Bryn Smith and was fouled by a foot down the right field line. Smith came right back at him with the same pitch and he hit it out. Stayed in. It was a home run. First pitch is in for strike 1 on Howard Johnson. Ojo coming in, leading the Mets with 9 home runs of 27 RBIs. He scored 24 runs, hitting .246. Tonight starting at third base. It's a high fly ball to right field that Felix Jose has only to move a few steps to take in for the first out of the inning.
Well, Smith getting inside on Johnson and jamming him with that fastball after throwing his changeup to set him up for the fastball. Smith with a palm ball as a change of pace pitch. Used to be a pitch used by a lot of pitchers. Now they go to the split finger fastball or forkball for their changeup.
Kevin McReynolds takes the first pitch in for a strike. 0-1.
This is the replay of the pitch by Smith as he comes in with a fastball in tight, and Johnson gets it on the trademark.
Big overhand curve by Bryn Smith catches the strike zone again on McReynolds. So the count goes to 0-2 in the bottom half of the second inning. 1 out. It's a 0-0 game. Inside fastball, 1-2 the count on McReynolds, who's really starting to up his average now after that horrendous start. What was he, 1 for 27?
1 for 27, hit a home run.
Ripped a line drive home run at Philadelphia. Didn't they walk the guy ahead of him to get to him?
That's right, and he had a 3-run home run that set it up for the Mets to win that ball game.
Smith now comes with an off-speed breaking ball that McReynolds fans on for the second out.
The catcher, number 2, Mackie Sasser.
Brent Smith shaved off that beard 1 point last season. Didn't win for 6 weeks when he had it off. He couldn't wait to grow it back. He's ready to glue another one on. He said it changed his luck.
You know, he says when he's through playing baseball, he's going to go on the circuit as a golfer. He'd have to. Are there any golfers that have beards? I don't remember any.
I don't either.
No. I guess there's no rule against it.
There's a lot of mustaches out there, but there's no golfers. He wants to play on the senior tour, does Brent Smith. He's a 2 handicap.
That won't get it.
No,
he might as well forget that if that's the best he can do. 2 handicapper in the senior tour. I'll tell you, one ball player, ex-football player that can play, John Brody. He's on that senior tour, and he can play.
Yeah, they'll all be up at the 9X commemorative up in Westchester next week. All the senior players. As the count now goes to 2-1 on Mackie Sasser. We don't know if Brent Smith that's his bragging handicap or his betting handicap. Maybe the betting handicap goes up a little.
Well, he's not going to advertise what he really shoots.
Here's a well-hit ball, and out of here, Mackie Sasser turns on when Jose goes against the wall and gets it. So Mackie Sasser a foot away from knocking it out, but it's just a loud out. And it ends the inning after 2 innings of play. The score is the Cardinals nothing and the Mets nothing. Now this for U.S. Air. On a warm night at Shea Stadium, this is Don Criqui with Ralph Kiner as we go now to the top half of the 3rd inning. The Cardinals and the Mets are scoreless. St. Louis with just 1 base hit off David Cone so far. The Mets have 2 off Bryn Smith. And now stepping into bat for St. Louis is the pitcher Bryn Smith, and he's a good hitter, a real good hitter for a pitcher. Excellent bunter. Eyes into the first pitch. Foul ball.
Smith has a lot of strange things about him. His name, Bryn, B-R-Y-N, comes from his grandfather and his mother's side, named after Robert Young Nesbitt.
I'll accept that, yeah.
And his parents were introduced by Jane Russell, and you'll accept that, too.
Yeah, his parents were both actors in Hollywood at the RKO Studios. As the count goes to 1-2. His mother dated Cary Grant at one time, and as you mentioned, Ralph, his parents were introduced by Jane Russell. Bryn does not look like a matinee idol, more of a kind of a Western-looking. And they get him on a 3rd strike called as David Cone sets him down for the 1st out.
Of course, Jane Russell married to a great football player, Bob Waterfield, at one time.
David Cone very much in control of things. The Cardinals did get a runner in scoring position the last inning. Felix Jose, after singling, got to second base. And now the leadoff hitter Milt Thompson comes out. He struck out swinging to lead off the game and fouls off the first pitch. The count goes to 0-1. 1 out.
That's really shortened up on Thompson. He's noted for bunt base hits, and the first baseman, third baseman right on top of him. He also has outstanding speed and gets an awful lot of infield hits, which makes it almost hard to believe that he could hit as badly as he hit last year.
Career .277 hitter who dropped to .218 last year.
He's turning it around this year as he came into this game hitting .417 with 20 hits.
There's a hard hit ball. Miller knocks it down, but it'll be a base hit. Milt Thompson with excellent speed. There was never a chance at that as Elster came over and tried to field the ball. So the Cardinals have their 2nd hit. And with 1 out, they have a runner at first.
Miller makes a good try at it, gets to it, but it would have been of no use at all if he had caught it. He couldn't have thrown Thompson out. And look for Thompson to be stealing here. Cardinals haven't unleashed their running attack yet. Looks like Joe Torre playing a little bit cagey here early in the game, but now's the time with Ozzie Smith coming up that they'll use either the steal or hit and run.
Here's Ozzie, who in the first inning. Walked. Batting now from the left side, a switch hitter. Hitting much better from the left side. He's batting .360 this season as a left-handed batter. And has 10 of his 14 RBIs from the left side.
Well, the Mets thinking right along with that theory as they pitch out in the first pitch.
Bucky Dent, the third base coach, the former Yankee shortstop and manager.
He'll always be remembered for that great home run he hit against the Boston Red Sox.
All part of the curse of the Babe up at Boston.
That's right. Why'd they trade him away?
Ground ball, chopped to Nagin at first. And they get the out is coming over to cover is Miller, second out of the inning.
Well, Ozzie not going to run into the tag, so he just stops and takes off back to home. But you can't get to first base in that direction. He's trying to get Thompson's attention and let Thompson go to third, but Thompson unable to do so as the Mets make the play at first to the second baseman.
And that brings up Ray Langford, the center fielder, 0 for 1 with 2 outs. Cardinals again with a runner on second in Thompson. First pitch catches a corner for strike one called. Talking, Ralph, about the curse of the Babe. The Red Sox brought Babe Ruth up in 1915. He was 20 years old. He's the best pitcher in the American League for a couple of years. They won back-to-back World Series titles in 15 and 16. Won again in 18. They sold him to the Yankees in 1920, and they haven't won a World Series in 73 years since he left.
Yeah, the owner was looking for some money for a Broadway play when they sold him.
Gary Frazee sold the Babe for $125,000.
Got to play on Broadway. I think it was No No Nanette.
It was,
a play.
A lot of terrible things have happened since then. In 46, what was it? Pesky bobbled a ball that could have gone on to win the series. The Dent homer.
That
Buckner.
Series against the Cardinals. Slaughter scoring from first on the double by Harry Walker. Yeah, Harry Walker, the hat.
Fouled off by Langford. It's an 0-2 count on him with 2 out.
Mackey Sasser catching for the Mets. And now he's going to throw it back and drops the ball. He still has that psychological block about getting that ball back to the pitcher. It doesn't bother him on throws to the bases. He still taps that glove and can't get the ball back to the pitcher.
You know, talking with Edwards, the Mets catching coach, it's amazing how predominant that's been over the years with different catchers. They get into that psychological block, but they can't throw it back. Here's a base hit lined up the middle. The first run of the game will score on it. Langford takes a big turn as Milt Thompson comes home from second with the first run of the game, and the Cardinals take a 1-0 lead. So the rookie Langford rips a single, a run-scoring single, and that brings up Pedro Guerrero.
Well, Langford with his 11th run batted in, but it's a crucial base hit with 2 men out, and that's how you win ball games. And the Cardinals have been doing this all year long. They've come from behind to win some big ball games. They have gotten those base hits when they needed them, and that's why they're in second place, a half game ahead of the Mets and trailing the Pirates by a game and a half. Team that was picked for last by most of the experts.
Runner going, the ball gets by Mackey Sasser, a big turn. And so the Cardinals now have another runner on second base as Langford sprints down. Sasser having his problems behind the plate defensively tonight. Fastball got by him. Pete Guerrero in the batter's box.
Well, this will be recorded as a stolen base for Langford. He had an idea about going all the way to third, but the ball bouncing right back to Sasser, and he had to hold at second. And now a conference on the mound with a runner again in scoring position. The dangerous Pedro Guerrero at the plate.
Guerrero popped out to Keith Miller at second in the first inning. Mel Stottlemyre out there with some words of counsel for the whole battery. Manager Buddy Harrelson sees his pitcher now with some trouble here in the third inning as the Cardinals have a run in. There are 2 out. 1-0 is the count on Pete Guerrero, the St. Louis batter. The very fast Langford at second base, Ray Langford. Guerrero's hit for good power against the Mets in his career. Has a career .285 batting average against Met pitching with 20 home runs and 87 RBIs lifetime. He was the Cardinals RBI leader last year with 80. Two years ago he had 117 RBIs. Nice short swing.
Lifetime batting average of .305. He's been a very consistent hitter.
Man.
Now remember,
It's interesting what you pointed out earlier.
1988, that was really a brushback pitch right there. And the last time Guerrero threw his bat at Cone and got suspended, and that ball right under his chin. Now Guerrero leans out. He's a hitter that likes the ball away. And Cone just straightens him right up. Now you see him leaned out, and he has to duck away from that high inside fastball.
Oh, he had some pop on that fastball too. As Guerrero backs out, David Cone bears down. 2-1 is the count. Top of the third inning, Cardinals lead the game 1-0. There are 2 out as a ground ball gets through Miller at second base. Another Cardinal run comes in to score. Play at the plate. Langford just sprinted under the tag, never slid.
Well, Guerrero coming back from that knockdown pitch and making good contact. Miller got his glove on the ball and stopped it nearby, but Langford, coming from second base, never slows down around third, and he's going to score. And fortunately for Sasser, he didn't run into Sasser. He could have taken him into the bleachers. And he makes the move into home for the second run for the Cardinals. So both runs coming with 2 men out.
So you can back Guerrero away with that chin music, but you can't back him down as he hangs right in and laces the next pitch for a run-scoring single. And the Cardinals now have a 2-0 lead in the third inning. Cardinals with 2 runs on 4 hits. Mets with no runs on 2 hits. Felix Jose, the batter, leads the National League with 19 extra base hits this season. He singled to left his last time up. Count goes to 1-1 with 2 out. Pete Guerrero at first base for the Cardinals. Tough chance for Miller. It's going to drop in as Guerrero will sprint from first to third. A hard throw down there, but he's in safely. Ball gets away, but he cannot go. But the runner now going to second base, and they'll get him. Here's Guerrero going home. Throw to Sasser, and he's out. So the Mets defense gets a standing ovation. They've not heard many so far this year. Some very alert play in the field, and that retires the side, but the Cardinals do get 2 runs here in the third inning to take a 2-0 lead. Now this for American Express. The Mets will operate baseball camps throughout the metropolitan area and Long Island for kids aged 7 through 16. Develop your baseball skills with our experienced staff of coaches. To find out how you can be part of this big league experience, call 516-424-METS. 516-424-METS. Guest appearances will be made by selected Mets players and coaches. Enrollment is limited, so call now for your free brochure and place yourself in the Mets lineup. Again, the number is 516-424-METS. Ralph will take a look again now at that last play.
Well, Felix Jose with his second blue pit. It drops just beyond the reach of Miller. Picked up by Hubie Brooks. Hubie makes a strong throw against Guerrero, running for third. The ball gets away from Johnson. And now going down toward second is Felix Jose. He draws a throw. Miller now sees Guerrero break for home. And Guerrero's dead at home plate as the inning ends.
Wisely avoiding in a collision. Could have taken on Sasser, but he was dead to rights. So that ends the inning, but the Cardinals did get two. They'll take a 2-0 lead. Kevin Elster now the batter for the Mets. One and one the count as Elster in his first at bat rips an opposite field single. And with that cannon arm, Felix Jose rifles it in, so the Mets get a leadoff hitter on to open their half of the third inning.
Checking out the Macy's National League scoreboard. Pittsburgh leading Philadelphia 1-0. That game in the top of the third. Chicago 4, Montreal 3. That's a final score. The Dodgers leading Cincinnati 3-1 after 3. San Francisco 1, Atlanta 0. That game in the bottom of the third. San Diego 0, Houston 0, just underway.
Pitcher David Cone lays down a bunt. Going to second base beautifully. Guerrero guns down David Cone, or he gets the sacrifice. They're just going to. He really made a great play there, Guerrero, getting the force at second base as Cone, who brushed him back and then gave up a hit to Guerrero, tries to lay it down, and Guerrero says something to Cone now that they go back over to first base, so they could have a conversation here.
Center fielder Vince
Guerrero making a fine play and a good accurate throw. Throw taken by Ozzie Smith, and he holds onto the ball as he has no chance to pick up the double play on the return throw to first. So Guerrero and Cone out there together after that little tete-a-tete earlier when Cone straightened him up. Guerrero answered the right way with a base hit.
Cone trying to sacrifice the runner, but Guerrero with a superior defensive play. Absolutely tremendous. Another bunt attempt now as Vince Coleman, the leadoff hitter, is up. Coleman single to right. Last time up. Coleman playing well. He's hit safely in 8 of his last 9 games with 9 runs scored and 7 stolen bases. Stolen base count up to 27, but he was cut down tonight by Pagnozzi earlier in this game on a perfect throw to second. Ground ball hit down to the second baseman. Geronimo Pena makes the pivot, gets the man at second, but cannot turn the double play. David Cone taken out on the force at second. And now there's 2 outs. The Mets with a runner on first, and still no runs as they trail the Cardinals 2-0.
And checking out the American League scoreboard, Yankees 1, Baltimore 0, bottom half of the third. Boston 3, Detroit 1, bottom half of the third. Kansas City 1, Minnesota 0, bottom of the second. Cleveland and Milwaukee underway. And later on, Chicago against Oakland, Toronto against California, and Texas. And they won 10 straight against Seattle.
Vince Coleman trying to cool down Guerrero, his former teammate with the Cardinals. Batter now is Keith Miller, who went 3 for 4 last night against the Cubs. Grounded out short to first. First time up tonight. There are 2 outs now in the bottom of the third inning. Cardinals got their 2 runs in the top half of this inning.
Well, Miller not a power type hitter, not an extra base hitter. And Coleman definitely a threat to try again. As Don pointed out, he was thrown out on a fine throw by Pagnozzi his first attempt.
All hit down the line. It's a fair ball and could go for extra bases. Coleman makes the turn at second. He's being waved in. Here comes Vince Coleman with the first run of the game for the New York Mets. As Keith Miller is in with a stand-up double, and the Mets are on the board trailing 2-1. Oh, and Coleman opens it up. It's a case closed. Ball was bobbled in left field by Thompson, but Coleman would have had it anyway as he was making the turn at third by the time the ball was getting to him.
Miller hits it over the bag at third. It's ruled a fair ball. And even though Thompson didn't come up with a handle here, he had no chance against Coleman. This man is streaky. And with his clothes on.
I tell you, talking about football players, Ralph, earlier, Coleman was a terrific football player. He returned kicks for the Rattlers of Florida A&M.
Right here, we'll look at it again. All the ball has to do is cross over the bag to be fair, and it did that.
Dave Magadan, now the batter for the Mets, as with 2 outs, they plate their first run and have a runner in scoring position at second. Heath Miller. Down the line double, and here's a ground ball. Geronimo Pena moves over to field it nicely for the 3rd out of the inning. The Mets get on the board, and after 3 complete innings of play, the score is the Cardinals 2 and the Mets 1. Now this for the New York Daily News. Game is brought to you in part by the New York Telephone Company, to remind you that we're all connected, and by Macy's, we're a part of your life. As we now go to the top half of the 4th inning, and here with the play-by-play is Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner.
Thank you, Don Criqui, and good job on the first 3 as we go to the 4th. Todd Zeile, the batter. Todd struck out his first time up, and he struck out in the curve ball. Gets a curve there and takes it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Zeile came into the game hitting .320 with 2 home runs. 20 runs batted in. Makes his home in Rancho Mirage, California.
A nice place.
Not a bad place to live, and
a lot of golf courses out there.
Yeah, he lives on a golf course in Rancho Mirage, Palm Valley, as a matter of fact. Now the pitch back again, the breaking ball. Again, it's taken. They count 2-2. On deck batter, Geronimo Pena. Little balancing act there, and the fastball gets him this time as Cohen goes upstairs.
You got 2 good second basemen here. Jose Oquendo starts most of the time. He's been in a little bit of a slump, so Pena started the last couple of games. Pena stepping in.
And Pena flied out to left, so he's batting for the 2nd time. Switch hitter for the Cardinals. It's a fly ball to right field. Brooks off and running, can't get to it. It'll be extra bases. Pena to second, on his way to third. The relay will not be in time, and Pena has a 3-base hit.
Hey, Geronimo Pena's got some go in those legs. 1 out. A triple by Geronimo Pena as he drives it into the gap in right center field. Brooks on the run, fields it off the wall, and then makes a very good throw. The cutoff man, they almost make the play at third, but Pena with the head first slide is in. A little bit wide of the mark. So the Cardinals now with a runner on third and 1 out in the top of the 4th inning.
First triple for Pena, and it brings the infield in. They'll go for a play at the plate against Tom Pagnazzi. Pagnazzi, the catcher for the Cardinals. And Cohen's first pitch, a breaking ball, a called strike. Pagnazzi flied to right his first time up.
Torrey, by making the move, bringing Zeile to third base. Really open it up to get a second very good young player in his lineup in Pagnazzi. We saw him gun down Vince Coleman trying to steal earlier in the game.
And the sidearm slider outside to count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Bucky Dent given the signs. Runner on third.
Really have to anticipate the potential of the suicide squeeze play in a situation like this with the pitcher coming up next. 1-1 pitch, and it's swung on and missed as Cohen again goes to that high fastball. Cohen throws that fastball in the 90s.
Gets it up to about 92, 93. Mets, of course, saw the winning run cross last night in the 4-3 loss to the Cubs on a suicide squeeze.
Pagnozzi hit his first major league home run against the Mets back in '87. 1-2 pitch, and he gets him with that sidearm slider. So the 5th strikeout for David Cohn, and he put something on that pitch.
Cohn with a real big break on the ball. As Ralph described it, the sidearm slider. Foot out of the strike zone. That's it for Pagnozzi, second out of the inning. Geronimo Pena hoping to get home with 2 outs now.
And now Bryn Smith, the batter, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1, a breaking ball. Johnson, the third baseman, playing in, as Don Criqui pointed out earlier. Smith is a very good bunter. He's driven in 4 runs this year, and he's had only 4 hits, so he's not a automatic out at the plate.
He was one of the best bunting pitchers in the National League last year. Ralph had 11 sacrifice bunts.
Now he hits a fly ball to right center, some hang time, so Coleman will get to it, and he makes the play, and that retires the side. So in spite of the triple, no runs for the Cardinals. The man left at third, and the score at the end of 3.5 innings. The Cardinals 2, the Mets 1. And here's a word from New York telephone. Well, we're going now to the bottom half of the 4th. The Mets trailing 2-1. For the Mets, it'll be Hubie Brooks, Howard Johnson, and Kevin McReynolds against the right-hander Bryn Smith. Smith came into this game with a record of 4-1 on the year. And he will be working here in the 4th, having given up 1 run on 4 hits.
Kind of a renaissance man, Ralph, in addition, as you mentioned, hoping to go on a senior golf tour in 15 years when he turns 50. He also toured with the rock group Rush. Not a musician, but he was just a fan of that group, and he went on tour with them for a week, and he said he learned how to handle crowds by being around them.
Well, he pitched in Montreal for a long time. Not too many crowds up there. He's the only man to hit a ball out of the Big O, but it was a golf ball.
Well, I could do that.
I think we all could.
I know you could. You're done around that single-digit area.
Oh, no, we can't get into that. Never get below double digits. And Hubie Brooks goes after the curveball. It's strike 1. Smith with the palm ball, the slow curveball, the slop drop, and spotting the fastball. 1 strike pitch, and it is popped up and playable out in foul territory by third base. Seal has all kinds of trouble with it, and then finally puts a glove under it. Played that like he didn't have a whole lot of assurance.
Howard Johnson.
Whoops. Little different angle when you're the third baseman than when you're catching. Zeal, of course, a catcher before being converted to a third baseman. So he picks up the out, and that'll bring up Howard Johnson, who flied out to right his first time up. And the off-speed pitch swung on and missed. On deck batter Kevin McReynolds for the Mets. Mets trailing 2-1. The surprising St. Louis Cardinals with a record of 22-17, a game and a half back of the Pirates. 1 ball, 1 strike. Last year at this time, they had a record of 18-21. They were 6 games back of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Most experts picked the Cardinals to finish last in the National League East. Smith to the curve, and it's a ball. 2-1 to Johnson. Ground ball, that's foul. 2-2.
Mets with just the 1 run on 4 hits now as we're in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Cardinals in the lead 2-1. Bryn Smith, 32 years old, 6'2", 210 pounds, a finesse pitcher who works the corners, changes speeds, excellent control.
Came into baseball with the Baltimore Orioles, and that pitch is hit hard to right field by Johnson. And the Mets have the potential tying run at first base with 1 out here in the 4th.
Left fielder Kevin Reynolds.
Here is the Howard Johnson keeping his head in, driving the ball to right field. Get on base with, as Ralph pointed out, what could be the tying run. Mets down 2-1. Now McReynolds, the batter, who struck out swinging in the 2nd inning.
Smith got him with that palm ball, the off-speed pitch. Cardinals set up a double play death. Smith has a great move to first. He has led the league in picking runners off at first base. Back in 1984, he picked off 25, which is an awful lot.
Sure is.
But a lot of people would say he must have had an awful lot of runners off. And now the pitch hit hard, but it's foul. So McReynolds really putting the wood to it, but pulling the ball foul. And it's a long strike.
Reynolds, after that awful slump to start the season, getting his timing together. He's done well against St. Louis over the years. Has a career .297 batting average against the Cardinals with 15 homers and 63 RBIs. Geronimo Pena looks down at second base. Howard Johnson, the runner, and he can go.
And there goes Johnson. Fly ball, though, hit to the outfield. It's playable for Langford. And Johnson has to go back to first base. So McReynolds flies out.
The catcher, Mackey Sasser.
2 outs in the inning, and that'll bring up Mackey Sasser.
Mackey fly to right his last at bat. See the ball hit hard to center field. Howard Johnson probably had the base stolen. He waited, saw the ball caught, and sprinted back. Langford unable to make a play on him. So now there are 2 outs, and Johnson still on first base, and the Mets still trailing 2-1.
Sasser batting for the 2nd time. Might have been robbed of a home run his first time up. A drive to deep right. The ball looked like it was high enough to be out of the ballpark, but Felix Jose, the right fielder, jumped up and made the catch. Now faking a throw to first, and Sasser backs out of the batter's box. Sasser lines it down the right field line. It'll be a base hit, maybe an extra base hit. The throw comes into the cutoff man. Johnson to third and holding there, and the Mets now have runners at second and third as Sasser again hits it hard, this time a base hit.
You don't have to wait long when Sasser's at bat for something to happen. He averaged the fewest number of pitches of any Met last season per at bat, as he rips it down the right field line. And now the Mets have runners on third and second. 2 outs. The Mets trailing by 1.
Good play out there by Felix Jose to get it back in time to hold Johnson at third. So now it's up to Kevin Elster,
who singled to right in the 3rd inning. First at bat.
Runners at second and third. Smith will work from the windup. He has made 1 wild pitch this year. Now Smith wants to talk it over with his catcher Pagnozzi. Pitchers due up next. David Cone. Cone not a bad hitting pitcher. First base is open. Matter of fact, Cone, the only pitcher in Mets history to ever appear as a pinch hitter and get a base hit. Now it's going to be talked over with some authority out there. You're watching Mets Baseball 91 on Universal 9. Secaucus, New Jersey.
Otzi getting his catching hand attended to. Actually working with his throwing hands. Joe Torre looks on. This looks like a major procedure here. Two outs in the bottom half of the fourth inning. The Cardinals with 2 runs in the top of the third.
They're putting some tape on Pagnozzi's fingers. Evidently, Brent Smith unable to see how many fingers are down and unable to read the sign. So this way he'll be able to see the fingers as they will be outlined by the adhesive tape. So we have a little bit of a delay here. We'd like to remind you this copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Sterling Doubleday Enterprises and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is similarly prohibited.
Looks a little better now. The taped fingers giving the sign.
And the first pitch, a breaking ball for ball 1. Elster singled hard to right field his first time up. A chance to put the Mets up here. Batting with 2 men out in the bottom of the 4th. The Mets need him 1 to tie. And again, it's inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Elster batting 8th in the batting order. The 2-0 pitch. And it's ball 3, 3-0. Elster should be ready to hit away here on the 3-0 pitch if it is a cripple type pitch right in the strike zone, but unlikely to be with first base open. And he is swinging away, and he fouls off the fastball, and he had a good pitch to hit. Elster, a great opportunity there, but unable to make solid contact. On deck batter David Cohen. Cohen has yet to have a base hit this year. He led the National League pitchers in base hits in a previous year.
He has power, Kevin Elster. Before he got hurt last year, he was tied with Sean Dunston of the Cubs for the most home runs by a National League shortstop.
And he won't be able to show it here as he gets the walk, and that will load up the bases and bring up David Cohen. For the Mets, Howard Johnson, the runner at third base. At second base, Mackey Sasser. Johnson going to third on Sasser's double after Johnson had single, and then the walk and the 3-1 pitch to Kevin Elster. First walk issued by Brent Smith. Joe Torre checking out the pitching charts. No action in the Cardinal bullpen. And David Cohen stepping in. Cohen tried to bunt his first time up and bunted into a force play. And he lines a single into left center field, a base hit. 2 runs a score. The Mets will take the lead. Throw back into second base, and not in time as Elster gets back in. And the Mets, on Cohen's first hit of the year, take the lead by a score of 3-2.
As they say, hitting is contagious. The Mets set the table for their pitcher, David Cohen, and he responds with a 2-run single to left. Good looking swing. He's right on the ball. And the Mets have now come from behind with 2 runs here in the bottom of the 4th inning to take a 3-2 lead with 2 out.
And the batter for the Mets will be Vince Coleman, who is 1 for 2 tonight. First pitch to Coleman, a breaking ball swung on and missed. Coleman singled to right field his first time up. Then was thrown out attempting to steal second his second time up. He was safe on the fourth play and scored the Mets' first run as he scored in a double by Keith Miller. This pitch a called strike. Strike two. Cardinals led 2-0 after 2.5. The Mets got a run back in the third and then took the lead here with 2 runs in the fourth, leading by a 3-2 margin. And runners still at first and second base with 2 men out.
Coleman played in only 124 games last season as a Cardinal. They one of his best batting averages, .292. He's a career .266 hitter.
So the count at 1-2. At a .265 for the Cardinals in 6 years with 549 stolen bases. He has led the league every year he has been in the National League. Keith Miller, the on-deck batter. And the 1-2 pitch line to right field, but coming up on the ball is Felix Jose, and he makes the play that retires the side. But the Mets, with 2 runs, with 2 men out, they had 3 hits. The big hit, the base hit by David Cohn to put the Mets up. And the score at the end of 4. The Mets 3 and the Cardinals 2. And here's a word from Mobile. Clutch hitting by both sides in this ball game, accounting for all 5 of the runs, 2 out base hits. And we go to the top of the 5th with the Mets leading 3-2. And Milt Thompson will lead off for the Cardinals. Thompson with an infield base hit and 2 at bats. And David Cohn starts off with a breaking ball. It's fouled down, strike 1.
Thompson with a single off Keith Miller's glove. And went out to score one of the Cardinals' 2 runs.
1 ball and 1 strike. Milt Thompson originally signed with Atlanta, was traded to Philadelphia, and then on to the St. Louis Cardinals. And the curveball hangs high.
Howard Johnson playing in at third base against Thompson, a good bunter from the left side. Great speed.
And it's 2-2. On deck batter Ozzie Smith. And Thompson is struck out for the second time. 6th strikeout for David Cohn. And he gets the first batter here in the 5th.
Cohn's racking up those Ks tonight now, Ralph. That's his 6th strikeout.
49 on the year. The leader in the National League, Doc Gooden, with 61. Cohn now tied for 3rd. There's the doctor.
Well, there's a guy that looks good in the batting cage, and his natural swing is from the left side. They won't let him bat that way because it would expose that great right arm. He's impressive.
He does hit the ball well. And if you don't believe him, ask him.
He loves the hit.
He loves the hit, and he loves to talk about it, as the first pitch to Ozzie Smith is a ball. Now the fastball, 1-1. His father, Dan, is in the hospital, New York hospital. A concern, obviously, to the doctor. We wish him well and a speedy recovery. Understand he's having a hip replacement type operation. 1-2 the count on the foul ball.
Doc, who moved his record to 5-3, didn't have his best stuff the other night, but Mets gave him a lot of support.
That's winning that ball game 8-6, their last win. And the breaking ball just tapped foul, so Ozzie Smith stays alive.
Al McRae in his first game as manager of the Kansas City Royals. And that must be a thrill for him, both to be managing and to have his son Brian leading off and playing center field.
And that's not nepotism. Brian is a very good ball player.
He is.
Ball grounded slowly out to shortstop. Elster over to first. Ozzie Smith is out.
Just out.
So 2 men away, and that'll bring up Ray Langford, who is 1 for 2. Remember, it makes good sense to drink responsibly. Know when to say when. A reminder from Budweiser. Langford, the batter for the Cardinals, singled his last time up to drive in the first Cardinal run. Later on scored the second run for the Cardinals after he stole second. Scored all the way from second base on an infield base hit by Pedro Guerrero. Big ball knocked down by Keith Miller, and by the time Miller picked it up, Langford had scored from second. And the breaking ball for ball 1. Mets leading 3-2. 2 men away, top of the 5th inning, the first of 3 with St. Louis. Fastball is foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Line forward from Modesto, California. About 2 miles from the central part of California. That pitch is fouled back, so the count 1-2.
National League's Eastern leaders, the Pirates, out in front of the Phillies 7-1. That game now in the 6th inning at Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. Bonds and Bonilla have hit him out. Home runs for them tonight for the Pirates.
And he misses with a fastball, so Cohn with a count of 2-2 on Langford. On deck batter Pedro Guerrero.
Well, before the game, Joe Torre was saying that his young right fielder Felix Jose reminds him of Bonilla.
There's a fly ball to left field. Moving back is McReynolds to make the play, and the Cardinals go in order for the first time in this game. And the score at the end of 4.5 innings, the Mets 3, the Cardinals 2. And here's a word from Black and Decker. Right on hand, and also on hand here, taking some time off from his NBC Sports assignments, Don Criqui to do the play-by-play, helping out with Tim McCarver on special assignment, meaning that Tim is doing a ball game in Milwaukee tomorrow.
Thank you, Ralph Kiner, as we now go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. And that's with 2 in the bottom of the 4th inning. Came from behind to take the lead. Up on the game now 3-2 as Keith Miller is the batter. Rips one down the third base line again. You remember he had an RBI double down the third base line. Scoring Coleman. 1 for 2 for the night with an RBI. Miller with a batting average in the upper 300s, came in hitting .385.
You mentioned he had a 3-hit game last night, and he has never had a 4-hit game in the major leagues. Had a shot at it last night. Couldn't get that 4th base hit.
The most hits in a game was 7.
Rennie Stennett.
That's right. Can't get him by you, can you?
That's an awful lot of hits. 7 hits in 1 ball game.
Rennie Stennett of the Pirates 7 for 7. Here is a fly ball off to the left field, very deep. It could carry the distance, and it does. Miller hits it out.
Keith Miller with his first run batted in of the year, and he does it on a home run. Actually, it's his second RBI. Got his first time up with the double, so in this game he's had 2 runs batted in.
Ground ball hit down to Ozzie Smith at shortstop by Magadan, and he quickly makes the play to first. 1 out. For the happy Keith Miller with the 4th home run of his career as a New York Met, as the Mets have now gone up 4-2 after trailing 2-0.
He's never had 2 in 1 year. He has now had his first this year.
Like Ozzie Smith, he hits an annual home run. Bryn Smith drills it down the middle for strike one called on Hubie Brooks. Hubie is 0 for 2 tonight. Struck out swinging and popped to third.
That is the 6th home run given up by Bryn Smith this year.
Smith was cruising along with all that off-speed stuff, moving it in and out. Now the Mets have gotten to him for 4 runs on 8 hits, 1 dinger. Keith Miller just hitting one out in left field for his first home run of the season. Here's another base hit. Brooks rips it into left field, makes the big turn, draws the throw, and hurries back to first base. So the Mets, who've had limited offense most nights this season, starting to tag into one of the better pitchers. Bryn Smith, who came in with a 4-1 record for the Cardinals as coach manager Joe Torre, still has nobody up throwing in the Cardinal bullpen. Got to be thinking about it.
Well, Joe has one thing going for him. He has a lot of patience, and he doesn't panic easily. Of course, Bryn Smith is a veteran pitcher of many, many years.
Torre, in his first full season as manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, a team he starred for, as we mentioned earlier, he was the National League's most valuable player as a Cardinal back in 1971. Also managed the Mets and Atlanta, and here's a fly ball hit to right field. Felix Jose moves in position and takes it for the 2nd out of the 5th inning.
Joe Torre leaving the broadcast booth. He was broadcasting for the California Angels to take the job with the St. Louis Cardinals. A lot of people would question his sanity about making a move like that.
Yes.
Including me. And he said he would not have taken any other job except the one in St. Louis. He felt he had a strong affinity to the St. Louis Cardinals, and he wanted to go back there.
Spent 6 years with the St. Louis Cardinals as a player, and they moved him from catcher to third base, and he also played first there because they had a terrific catcher in Tim McCarver, and later another standout in Ted Simmons. 1-1 the count as Smith comes in with a fastball for strike one called. 2 outs now in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Mets have rallied from a 2-0 deficit. They've scored 4 unearned runs, or 4 unanswered runs. 1 in the bottom of the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th now. The runner going. Here's a ball hit to right field. Felix Jose moving beautifully to his right, fields it on the run for the 3rd out. But after 5 complete innings of play, the score is now the Mets 4 and the Cardinals 2. Now this for Budweiser. Back to Shea. First pitch to Pete Guerrero is lofted high into center field and taken in by Coleman for the first out of the 6th inning. So Guerrero jumps on the first pitch by David Cone and flies out. Cone doing well through 5 innings. He's allowed 5 hits, given up just 1 base on balls. He struck out 6. Felix Jose steps in now. Mets leading the game 4-2 in the top of the 6th inning. Called strike on a breaking pitch. 0-1. Gets Jose swinging, and it's now 0-2 with 1 out. Felix Jose having a good night, though. He's 2 for 2 off Cone with a pair of singles. But this time David Cone K's him. 7th strikeout of the game for David Cone, and there's 2 outs. And here comes to the plate the catcher Todd Zeile. Came into the game hitting .320. Breaking ball for strike one called. Third baseman deal. And the ball now gets away from Sasser, and they throw out a new one as Zeal steps out again. Zeal, as we mentioned, an All-American catcher at UCLA, convinced on what manager Joe Torre calls a hard sell to go to third base, as Torre did in his career. Cone getting stronger as the game wears on now, as the count goes to 1 ball, 2 strikes on Todd Zeal with 2 out in the top half of the 6th inning, and the Mets leading the game 4-2. Don Criqui with Ralph Kiner at Shea Stadium. A very warm May night. Temperature in the 80s with high humidity. There was the threat of rain. No precipitation so far. Cone, looking like the major league strikeout leader he was a season ago, gets another Cardinal down on strikes, and after 5.5 innings, the score remains the Mets 5, the Cardinals 2. Now this, nobody beats the Wiz. Express financial update. The Dow Jones average up 13.87. Standard & Poor's index up 2.52. New York gold closed at $1.30 up to 356.50, closing up $1.30. Silver was even. Crude was up a bit, 21 cents. As the first batter for the Mets in the bottom half of the 6th inning, Mackey Sasser fouls the first pitch off for strike 1. Mackey's 1 for 2 for the evening, and that was a double. He also has a run scored. Bryn Smith, still working for the Cardinals, comes inside with a ball to even the count at 1-1. Mets, after a slow start, have gotten to Bryn Smith for 4 runs on 9 hits. 1 home run in the game. That was hit by Keith Miller of the Mets, his first of the year, 4th of his career as a Met. Smith misses with an out pitch. Count goes to 2-1. Two and 1 pitch, and the count 3 balls and 1 strike on Mackey Sasser of the Mets, with Kevin Elster in the on-deck circle. Hard hit ball, but right at sure-handed Pete Guerrero at first base. He's made a couple of nice plays tonight. Guerrero backhanding the ball for the first out of the 6th inning.
One of the great stories in baseball, when Guerrero was playing third base for the Dodgers, he didn't like it over there. And Tommy Lasorda said, "What do you think about before the ball is pitched?" And he says, "I think of 2 things." He says, "I pray that they don't hit the ball to me. I also pray they don't hit it to Steve Sachs." And that was when Sachs was having all the trouble trying to throw over to first base.
Keep it on the left side.
Now Sachs is playing third base where Guerrero used to be, and he's having throwing troubles again.
He's having Yankee troubles too.
That's right. There you see Pedro, little sinking line drive. He takes it in the air for the out. He likes that bigger glove and likes being on that first base side.
As you mentioned, Ralph, a .305 lifetime hitter, Pete Guerrero. Now Elster fans at a breaking pitch, and the count goes to 0-2. It's important at this point that I mention the name Don Imus. Mr. Imus asked me to mention his name. There's 1 out in the bottom half of the 6th inning.
Does he pay you for that?
No, he pays for nothing. Here's a ground ball hit down to shortstop, and Ozzie Smith just gets it across in time. And 2 outs.
Well, Ozzie, who plays shortstop like a break dancer, still has enough left in that arm. He doesn't throw as well as he used to pick up Elster, who is contending with him for being the best fielding shortstop in the National League. Not been an error this year.
Ozzie's a new glove man, likes a new stiff glove to get the ball out of it much quicker. Here's a ground ball hit down to Geronimo Pena at second base. And that will do it for the Mets in the bottom half of the 6th inning. The Mets remain in the lead by a 4-2 count. Now here's a word from the New York Daily News. Mets leading the Cardinals 4-2. We go to the top half of the 7th inning, and for the play-by-play, Ralph Kiner.
All right, Don Criqui and the Mets.
Second baseman Geronimo.
Deep inning against the Cardinals. 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters here in the 7th inning. The Cardinals will undoubtedly go to a pinch hitter for their pitcher, who is scheduled to be the 3rd batter. Geronimo Pena to lead it off. Pena tripled his last time up, 1 for 2 off of Cohen. Cohen has given up 2 runs on 5 base hits, 3 of them coming when they got their 2 runs in the 3rd to take a 2-0 lead. Mets came back with a run in the bottom half of the 3rd and then took the lead with 2 runs in the 4th, added 1 more in the 5th on a home run by Keith Miller. So it's the Mets 4 and the Cardinals 2 as we start off here in the 7th inning. Pena goes after the fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pena appeared in 18 games with the Cardinals last year, hit .244. Signed as a non-drafted free agent back in 1984. One of 11 children. Again, he goes after a bad pitch, and it's 1-2.
Another of the standouts from the Dominican Republic. There are many, and there'll be more when the National League expands by 2 teams in 1993.
Creating a lot of jobs, and there's strike 3 called, and Cohen gets his 9th strikeout. 3 in a row now.
A lot of baseball people, Ralph, concerned there's not enough good pitchers to go around now, let alone the 20 more that'll be needed when there's 2 expansion teams, as you see. Cohen get yet another strikeout on a called strike, number 9.
And that'll bring up Tom Pagnozzi. Well, if you go by the managers in baseball today, they don't have enough pitching at this point to go around. So 20 more would make it even a larger shortage.
A lot of times there's a record set after an expansion year. Maris hit 61 home runs in an expansion year. The batter now is Tom Pagnozzi. The Cardinal catcher fly to right in the top of the 2nd inning, struck out swinging in the top of the 4th.
And the fastball on the outside corner, strike 2, 1-2. A larger shortage would be an oxymoron, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
but those are also acceptable.
Oxymoron for the day. 1 ball and 2 strikes as Pagnozzi, 0 for 2, is struck out, and strikeout number 10 for David Cohn. That is 4 in a row.
He looks great. Grew up in Kansas City, a Cardinal fan, so he was mostly a Royals fan, but he also rooted for the Cardinals, David Cohn.
Ouch. Good split finger fastball right there by David Cohn for his 10th strikeout, and that'll bring up a pinch hitter.
Smith will be number 10, Rex Hudler.
It's going to be Rex Hudler. 1st round draft choice of the Yankees a few years back, quite a few years back.
Because another player is a good football player. He's a high school All-American receiver in Fresno. Turned down about 50 scholarships, including one to Notre Dame. He almost went there to play and then decided when he was drafted number 1 to sign.
Never has made it as a regular player in the major leagues, but does a fine job as a utility ball player. And he is a very tough ball player. He had 16 infield hits last year, and of the 16, 8 were bunts, but he swings away here. And the fly ball to McReynolds in left field ends the inning. So 10 in a row, make that 11 in a row now for David Cohn, and the score on the GE line score at the end of 6.5 innings. The Mets 4, the Cardinals 2, and we'll return right after this message. Sherrill now pitching for the Cardinals. Sherrill last year briefly with St. Louis with a record of no wins, no losses, and no saves in 8 games, all in relief. And he sets up the same way here this year, 0-0. Working 4 innings, giving up 3 hits while striking out 2 and walking none.
Interesting
Brent Smith
guy.
leaving.
Tim Sherrill, Ralph, I had a chance. I just had to sit in the Cardinal dugout waiting for Joe to come out. Torrey. Tim came over and sat down and was telling me about his career. He's from Arkansas. Went to the University of Arkansas and pitched a total of 1 college inning of baseball. So did you have a bad arm? He said, no, I had a bad attitude. I didn't get along with the coach. The coach wanted to call all the pitches in the game. And I didn't like that. And he told me, until I think you know more baseball than I do, I'm going to call the pitches. And if you don't like it, you don't pitch. But some scouts saw him in a preseason inter-squad game and said he'd be drafted. And he was. Here he is at age 25 in the major leagues.
Signed by the Cardinals in the 18th round of the June 1987 draft. And he is now working for the first time at Shea Stadium. And his first batter, the former Cardinal, Vince Coleman. Coleman 1 for 3. And he takes for ball 1.
Single to right in the first inning, was caught stealing by Pagnozzi. Vince Coleman out on a fielder's choice in the 3rd inning. Short to second and fly to right in the 4th.
That's leading 4-2. Latter half of the 7th inning. The first of 3 with the St. Louis Cardinals. And a strike call, 1-1. Keith Miller, the on-deck batter for the Mets, the hitting hero of this ball game, as he was yesterday. 3 for 4 in yesterday's game, 2 for 3 in this one. Coleman pops it up in the shallow right field. Felix Jose there. And Sherrill retires his first batter.
And now we're going to check the Macy's National League scoreboard. The Pirates, National League leader in the East, in command of the Phillies in the 7th inning, 7-1. The Cubs now 3-0 under their new manager, Jim Essien, beat Montreal tonight at Wrigley Field 4-3. The Dodgers with a big lead over the poor hitting Cincinnati Reds in the 6th, 8-1. Giants and the Braves tied up in the 6th inning at 2-all. San Diego and Houston scoreless in the 4th inning.
And Keith Miller takes his first pitch for ball 1. Miller with a double to drive in a run in the 3rd, a home run to drive in a run in the 5th. His first 2 runs batted in this year. Now batting .375 for the Mets. And the fastball fouled away. The Mets have always thought that Keith Miller, and this goes back to his days in the minor leagues, was going to be a great star in the major leagues. When he first came up, for a short period of time with the New York Mets, he just stood out. Injured himself sliding into third base, jamming a finger, and then went back to the minor leagues, and he's been up and down ever since. He has never ever measured up to what the Mets thought he could do. He was rated as the #1 prospect for the Mets in the minors. He attempts to bunt his way on and pops it up. So Miller is out, 2 men away.
Now as we check the American League scoreboard, the Yankees up on the Orioles 4-0 in the 6th inning. The Red Sox leading Detroit in the 6th 5-3. Minnesota with a 3-1 lead over the Royals in the 6th inning. Milwaukee up on Cleveland 1-0 there in the 4th. Later starts in California on the West Coast. Chicago at Oakland, Toronto, California, and Texas plays at Seattle. Talking about the Cincinnati Reds we mentioned earlier, Ralph, Lou Piniella is wondering where his hitting went. They're last, I think, in hitting now. 5 of his players are 100 or more points below their batting averages of a year ago.
The Royals champions and having trouble this year getting base hits. How can you figure this game of baseball? And the first pitch to Magadan, who hit 3rd, was the 3rd best hitter in the National League last year, takes the first pitch for ball 1. And Magadan struggling, hitting about 100 points under his average of last year. 1-0 pitch, ball 2, 2 balls, no strikes.
Magadan 1 for 3 for the evening. Single to center. First inning. In the 3rd, he grounded out second to first, and later grounded out short to first.
Tim Sherrill relieving Bren Smith, the pitcher for the Cardinals. His 2-0 delivery is hit hard and a base hit to right. So Magadan with his second hit. And he hit that with good authority.
Right fielder, Huey.
Magadan's been to a World Series, the 7th game, a College World Series. Led the University of Alabama to a 7th game of the College World Series in Omaha. Didn't win it. Here's Hubie Brooks.
So Magadan on first base with 2 men away, and Hubie Brooks the batter. Hubie 1 for 3. Mets now with 10 hits to lead in hits, 10-6 over the Cardinals. They lead 4-2 in the important part of the ball game. Run scored, and there's a strike. Hubie a single his last time up, 1 for 3.
Left-handed reliever Tim Sherrill working for the Cardinals.
And Brooks takes again the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Cardinals with a lot of people we've never heard of. They really stripped their ball club of their big name stars, and there's a drive to center field, a base hit. Langford fields it on the hop. Magadan to second base, and the Mets have runners at first and second with 2 men out. Brooks getting his second hit.
Howard Johnson.
Some longtime Cardinal standouts departed either during the season, as Willie McGee did to Oakland, or after the season, as Vince Coleman left for New York as a free agent. Ken Daly-Weaver to Toronto. You look at the replay, and the Mets have their 11th base hit of the game. Darrell Boston goes to first base to pinch run.
That'll bring up Howard Johnson, who is 1 for 3 in the game tonight. Boston will pinch run and stay in the ball game for the Mets and take over in right field. And Howard Johnson tops it out on the third base side. It's foul.
The paid attendance tonight, 30,795. Total attendance 31,854. It's been a great night, both from a weather standpoint and from a Mets standpoint, as the Mets now have put up 11 base hits, one of their better offensive performances of 1991. They had but 4 runs, but they've been hitting the ball hard tonight, and they've been hitting a lot of those good hard shots off one of the better starters in the National League this year, Bryn Smith, who's out of the game for Tim Sherrill.
1 strike to count to Howard Johnson. Runners at first and second base, 2 men out. And the breaking ball for a ball, 1-1. 2 day games coming up with the Cardinals tomorrow afternoon. Game time at 1:40. Plenty of tickets available for that ball game. So if you haven't made your plans for this holiday weekend, good idea. Try Shea Stadium. Also Sunday tickets available. Game time at 1:40. 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed, 1-2.
Pirates very much in command of their game, now leading the Phillies 9-1 at Pittsburgh in the 8th inning. Start of the evening, Pirates had a 1.5 game lead on St. Louis, a 2-game lead on the Mets. Mets, if they can hold the lead, will climb back into second place.
Well, the Phillies, after that no-hit, no-run game by Tommy Green, getting clobbered today. This one, a shot down the left field line off of the chest of Zeal and out into left field, and coming around to score is Magadan, and Howard Johnson with an RBI. Todd Zeal better check all of his parts. There might be a few of them missing.
Talk about the hot corner. Howard Johnson scorches the ball.
Left fielder Kevin McReynolds.
Todd Zeal doing the best he can. Too hot to handle. It's in for a base hit, a run-scoring base hit, and the Mets extend their lead now to 5-2.
Mets getting all their runs with 2 men out. A good sign as far as Buddy Harrelson's concerned. That'll bring up Kevin McReynolds, who is 0 for 3. And Tim Sherrill's first pitch to McReynolds, a called strike.
Let's take a look at that last shot by Johnson in full speed to see what Todd Zeile had to contend with. Very nearly with some broken ribs.
Got to have a strong chest and a strong arm to play third. And this ball lined to left field for a base hit. Thompson has it. The throw home is a bad throw, cut off by the cutoff man. And the Mets have another as McReynolds gets a run batted in with his first hit of the game.
So the ex-Arkansas Razorback Tim Sherrill in to relieve Brent Smith, getting knocked around pretty good here by the Mets. Reynolds with a sharp single to left field. And it's a 6-2 game Mets. Mets scored a run in the bottom of the third inning after they trailed 2-0. 2 more in the fourth, a run in the fifth, now 2 more in the seventh. And with 2 out, they have runners on first and second.
And McReynolds from Arkansas taking it out on Sherrill from Arkansas as he drills that ball in the left field for the Mets' second run of the inning. That'll bring up Mackey Sasser. And it's going to be Mark Carrion, the bat for Mackey Sasser.
Sherrill says McReynolds is an outstanding hunter and fisherman, has his own little lake around Little Rock.
Now he has his own hunt club, I believe, too. So McReynolds, an outdoorsman. He'd rather appear on Field and Stream than on Sports Illustrated. So Mark Carrion will pinch hit. This will give him a chance to have an at bat. He batted in yesterday's ball game and was 0 for 1.
The history of
outstanding pinch hitter for the Mets.
Yeah, history of hitting it out as a pinch hitter.
He's 6 for 11 this year as a pinch hitter with 3 home runs, and he is the club leader all time in pinch hit home runs. One time batting with not too much pressure on him as a pinch hitter. Usually it's either to tie or win a ball game. Here he's got a little luxury going for him as he hits with the Mets leading by a score of 6-2. Sasser, a poor hitter against left-hand pitching. So Carrion a chance to get some batting time as Elster is the on-deck batter. And the Mets will go to another catcher.
As you remember, Ralph, in '89, Carrion had 4 pinch hit homers in one season.
That tied a Mets record there. He's got 3 already this year.
Bouncing back nicely from the knee injury that knocked him out of the lineup last August.
The all-time record for pinch hits in the season held by Johnny Frederick. He did it for the Brooklyn Dodgers back in the 30s. 6 pinch hit home runs. Charlie O'Brien appears to be the new catcher for the Mets, with Sasser out for the pinch hitter Carrion. The 2-1 pitch fouled away, 2-2.
Charlie O'Brien what he thought of the Cardinals starter Brent Smith. He said nothing. I've never seen him before.
That's a good honest answer. 2-2 as you look at Charlie O'Brien.
Terrific defender. And a wide-eyed waiting to get in there.
Charlie said that when he was asked about his low batting average, I haven't seen all the National League pitchers yet. And then he said they haven't seen me either. There's a ground ball up the middle. Smith, a brilliant play, but the ball is not transferred in time to the second baseman. And that should go as a base hit. Ozzie Smith trying to pick it up and get it to the second baseman, Pena, but not a very good transfer.
Smith with those lightning hands. Watch how quickly, as Ralph referred to it, a transfer, trying to get the ball to second. Yep, so he loses it coming out, but it'll be, well, we'll see if it's scored as a base hit. If it is scored as one, he'll continue errorless in 1991. As Kevin Elster comes to the plate, Ozzie checking that scoreboard to see what the official ruling is.
It's scored as a base hit. So he continues his errorless streak. He has not made one this year. And a base hit for Carrion as a pinch hitter, and that loads up the bases, and the batter Kevin Elster with the luxury of having the bags full.
Talk Talk about remarkable numbers. Baseball being a game of numbers. Ted Williams walked over 2,000 times, as you know, in his major league career. If he never had a base hit, his on-base average, his walk average was 208.
Put fear in the hearts of so many pitchers. 1 ball, no strikes, and the pitch to Elster, line to center field. Langford off quickly, and he'll get to it and almost loses it as he does hold on to it, and that will end the inning. The Mets sent 8 to the plate, and they scored 2 runs on 5 hits. They leave 3, and the score at the end of 7. It's the Mets 6 and the Cardinals 2, and here's a word from British Airways. Out in right field is Darrell Boston, who will take over for Hubie Brooks. And behind the plate, O'Brien, Charlie O'Brien, taking over as the catcher for the New York Mets, replacing Mackie Sasser. And we're going to the top of the 8th. I'm Ralph Kiner along with Don Criqui. Don sitting in for Tim McCarver here today, and Don will be back on Sunday with us.
Yes, I will. You've made it very comfortable. I'm catching up on you. You've broadcast over 5,000 Met games, and I'll have broadcast 1 after tonight.
Yeah, but your record's going to be a lot better than mine. You're going to be 1-0 on the winning side, it looks like. I had all those years with the Mets when a win was something you celebrated.
I tell you, there's a great history, isn't there?
Great history. And the first pitch here, ball 1. I remember we got rained out the first 3 games in Cincinnati when Wes Westrom was the manager. We had a victory celebration. There's a swing and a miss, and it's 1-1. The batter, Milt Thompson.
Wes, of course, the gentleman that after the Mets won an extra inning game called it a real cliff dweller.
That's right. And there's a base hit for Thompson. Thompson in an unusual situation of leading off the 4 times he has been up, batting with no one out. He had struck out in single and now picks up his 2nd hit. That's the first hit for the Cardinals since a base hit by Pena back in the 4th inning. So a man on with no one out, and Ozzie Smith the batter.
Chris Carpenter warming up in the bullpen. I think they've seen enough of Tim Sherrill.
A little pop up in the center field going back is Elster, and he has to backpedal with a little extra vim and vigor as he does get back to it to make the catch. So Smith is out.
It's interesting, Ralph, this performance the last couple of days by Keith Miller adds to the Mets infield dilemma. It's tough to take him out of the lineup.
It is interesting, isn't it?
5 hits in his last 8 at bats, including a home run tonight.
And that'll bring up Ray Langford, who is 1 for 3, a single, and a run scored back in the 2nd, also a run batted in. Pirates are winning their ball game, so if the Mets win, the Mets will not gain any ground on the Pirates, but they will go in the 2nd place ahead of the Cardinals. There'll be 2 back of Pittsburgh. The Cardinals will drop to 2.5 out. 1 ball, no strikes to Langford. There goes a fake break at first, and the pitch is taken for ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes.
Your old friend Roger Craig in San Francisco, who was an original Met and a 20-game loser. He's really got a struggling ball club with that murderer's row lineup of hitters. You can't get him out, you can't win, I guess, huh?
You wonder whether or not he'll last out the month of May or even into June. As a manager of the San Francisco Giants, he's a very good friend of Al Rosen's. Al Rosen, the general manager of the San Francisco Giants.
Interesting day in baseball today. No manager was fired.
It's not over yet.
That's right. We did have one hired, McRae.
And a high fly ball to left field by Langford. With Reynolds right there. 2 men away. Thompson back to first base. And that'll bring up Pedro Guerrero.
First baseman, Pedro Guerrero.
Guerrero 1 for 3. Got an infield base hit that drove in a run. Scoring Langford all the way from second base.
couple of fine plays in the field also. Got a force at second on a bunt attempt for a sacrifice by David Cohn. 1 for 3 on the evening with an RBI, as you mentioned, Ralph.
Guerrero came into this game hitting .295, and the breaking ball inside for ball 1.
When he tore that tendon in his knee sliding for the Dodgers, I think even their physicians for a while thought he might be finished. Came back. Big.
And again, the breaking ball. This one a strike. It's 1-1. He has to have strong legs to hold up all that jewelry he wears.
He's got the biggest medallion I've ever seen around his neck.
He's loaded with gold. 1-1 pitch and a fastball missing. 2 balls and 1 strike. Thompson, the runner at first base, has good speed, but Magadan playing behind him at first. Mets leading 6-2. Surprised Thompson doesn't take advantage of Magadan's position. And there's a good fastball for a called strike, and it's 2-2. David Cohn with 10 strikeouts in this game. Trying to pick up his 4th victory of the year. He's lost 3. His first appearance against the Cardinals this year. He has a lifetime record of 8-3 against them.
Cardinals shook him up a little bit in the 3rd inning when they got 2 runs, but he has been just terrific since then. Getting stronger as the game wears on. 10 Ks for David Cohn, the major league strikeout leader a year ago. 233.
He has walked only 1 batter, Ozzie Smith, back in the 1st. 3-2. The runner does go, and the ball hit on the line. Soft line drive to Miller, the second baseman. That retires the side. So a base hit and 1 left to score. At the end of 7.5 innings, it's the Mets 6, the Cardinals 2, and here's a word from your tri-state Toyota dealer. Of the 8th inning, the Mets coming up as they lead by a score of 6-2, and David Cohn, who drove in 2 big runs for the Mets in the 4th inning to put them in front, will be batting for the 4th time. Cohn 1 for 3 with those 2 RBIs, his first 2 RBIs of the year, and his first base hit of the year. So he has really contributed to his own cause. On the mound, Tim Sherrill, and the first pitch, strike 1. Got a final on that Pittsburgh score. They won it.
9-1. Pirates a winner tonight.
Beating the Philadelphia Phillies, and that ball grounded foul. Talking about Tommy Green's no-hitter for the Phillies yesterday. Green walked 7 batters. The worst no-hitter pitched as a matter of walking batters, 10 in a no-hit, no-run game. Jim Maloney did that in the National League, and Steve Barber walked 10 in the American League while pitching no-hitters.
Hardly a no-walker, though, huh?
That's right. That's a lot of base runners for a no-hit, no-run game. 10 walks. And this pitch, a fastball fouled away. 1-2 the count. Jim Maloney once had a no-hitter against the Mets for 10 innings. It was spoiled on a home run by Johnny Lewis, who has been working for the St. Louis Cardinals. There's a drive down the left field line. It'll be a base hit, so Cohn gets his 2nd hit of the year, and he is coming back. Led all National League pitchers in base hits a couple of years ago.
Center fielder Vince Coleman.
Sixth base hit off Tim Sherrill, and he is working in his 2nd inning. Gave up 2 runs on 5 hits in the 7th inning, his first inning of work when the Mets sent 8 to the plate, and now Cohn leads off with a base hit here in the 8th inning, and Vince Coleman now the batter. And he drives at the right center, a base hit. Coming up to field the ball is Felix Jose, and now runners at first and second as the Mets get their 7th hit off of Tim Sherrill. Coleman now 2 for 5 for the day.
Cardinals went to the World Series 3 times in the 1980s, won it in '82. And it all came a cropper last year. Talk of clubhouse dissension. Whitey Herzog left in July with 2 years left on his contract as manager. Joe Torre came in, and the Cardinals, for the first time in 72 years, finished last. This, what was to be a rebuilding year, turned out to be so far a contending year. The Cardinals starting tonight just a game and a half behind the Pirates in the National League East.
Incidentally, Whitey Herzog, with 2 years left in his contract, still getting paid by the St. Louis Cardinals. And you wonder why he doesn't take a job? Doesn't have to. That's great. First pitch to Miller as he attempts to bunt. It's fouled back out of play. Miller with a good night going. 2 for 4 with a double and a run batted in and a home run. Obviously a run batted in on the home run. His first 2 RBIs of the year.
Dale Maxfield, a longtime Cardinal player, now the general manager of the team, and I think he and Torre are working together, really assessing the talent of the farm system. They want to make more use of what has over the years been a very good farm system. They brought a couple guys up this year. Seal gets that one. Short pop.
So a bad attempt that tried to sacrifice by Keith Miller, with the Mets leading by a score of 4 and
First
1
baseman,
away.
Dave Magadan.
That'll bring up Dave Magadan. Magadan 2 for 4 in the game. Single his first and last at bats. 2 ground ball outs sandwiched in between. Magadan hitting .240 in the year with 1 home run, 15 runs batted in. Then Sherrill's first pitch of ball. Mets against Eastern clubs, the important division to the Mets. 12-10. The Cardinals have a record of 13-9 against their own division. That pitch for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes.
Cardinals will be happy to get back to Busch Stadium after an extended road trip. They played well on it. But as of tonight, they had the best record in the National League at home this season, 13-6 through 19 home games. And a year ago, they had, for the season, the worst record in the National League at home.
That's not too good when you tailor your ball club for your own ballpark and you have the worst record.
Finished 70-92 for the season, 22 games under 500.
There's a strike. It's 2-1. The Cardinals, one of the best drawing franchises in the history of baseball, have drawn over 3 million fans several times. So you look at Joe Torre relaxing on the bench. Jim Essien, the Cubs manager, didn't even sit down in the 2 games that he managed against the Mets. He won the day, so he's now 3-0 as manager. Can't be that easy. And there's a strike call for strike 2. 2-2 on Magadan.
Essien doesn't stop the whole game, does he? Going back and forth.
Never sat down once. And when he isn't pointing and giving signs, he's talking. Very animated manager.
Joe kind of kicked back tonight. Not the Cardinals' night, at least at this point, trailing 6-2 in the 8th inning.
But it's not over, because this ball club has come back so many times so far this year. It's been recognized as a real comeback club.
A good point. They scored 6 times with 2 out to beat the Astros in the late innings.
And that ball fouled down the left field line, so the count will stay at 2-2. That might account for the fact that Bud Harrelson was playing for the sacrifice to move the runners up, even though the Mets have a 4-run lead.
Well, Torre said we've really got to build it around pitching and defense and speed, because we're not a 3-run homer team. They were last in the National League in home runs last season. But invariably, Cardinal teams don't produce many because of the building they play in, like the Astros.
2-2 to Magadan. And it's fouled again. I wonder why the expression a 3-run home run team is an expression you use for a team that hits a lot of home runs. I know Earl Weaver was the first to be, or at least was credited with saying that and using that a lot. Why didn't they say a 4-run home run team?
Hey, it's even better.
That's even better.
Take those.
I wonder how many more 3-run home runs are hit than grand slam home runs. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and it's fouled back out of play.
And on the other side, you have the little baseball philosophy of Gene Mauch.
One in the first inning.
Probably
Baseball.
played some golf with him, haven't you?
A lot of golf with Gene. Don't try to bet him too much. He's tough. Makes his home in Palm Springs, California. Actually lives in Rancho Mirage, same area that Todd Zeal spends his winters.
Gerald Ford spends some time out there, doesn't he?
Yeah, Gerald Ford was in the Connecticut area yesterday and playing golf at Tamarack.
Bob Hope says Gerald Ford, there's 70 courses in the Palm Springs area. He decides which one he's going to play after he tees off.
Took lessons from Claude Harmon. He's not a bad player, as a matter of fact. Belongs to Thunderbird Country Club, among others. 3-2 the count. And it's popped up into right center field. Over there is Langford. And he puts it away as Cohn goes back to second base and Coleman retreats to first.
6.
So Magadan is out, 2 for 5 in the night. That'll bring up Darrell Boston batting for the first time.
He came in as a pinch runner for Hubie Brooks in the 7th inning and scored on Kevin McReynolds' single. Did Darrell Boston, a proponent of the Walt Hriniak school of hitting. He was a top draft choice of the White Sox. Darrell Boston, they gave up on him last year. Came here as a complete free agent.
Did a tremendous job for the Mets, as you got a shot of Greg Jeffries recuperating from a virus. Unable to play yesterday and not in the starting lineup today. And Miller complicates the picture, as Miller, replacing Jeffries at second base, has had 2 big nights.
It's interesting here, Ralph, because Darrell Boston facing the left-hander Sherrill. Boston almost never bats against left-handers.
And basically for defense, fine defensive ball player. He takes a strike and it's 1-1.
Getting 190 for the season, Darrell Boston.
Mets have a kangaroo court, and Boston is the judge of the kangaroo court. Doles out the fines and the judgments.
Kind of like Judge Wapner.
Yeah, only he's a little prejudiced. Boston is. The law doesn't count. Here's a high pop-up and playable. Under the ball is Geronimo Pena, and that will retire the side. The Mets get 2 hits and leave 2, and we go to the 9th. After 8, it's the Mets 6 and the St. Louis Cardinals 2. And here's a word from Metropolitan Life. Top of the 9th inning, the Mets leading 6-2. David Cohn trying to pick up his first complete game of the year. The Mets have had 4 complete games, 2 by Dwight Gooden and 2 by Frank Viola. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it will be Felix Jose to lead it off, followed by Todd Zeal and Geronimo Pena. Mets with 6 runs on 16 hits. The Cardinals have 2 runs on 7. And Felix Jose, 2 for 3 in the night to lead it off. Jose with 2 bloop base hits. Batting .258 for the year. He started 3rd in the National League in the batting race. Gwynn on top at .257. So at this point, Felix Jose has taken over the league lead. But of course, the Padres have a game to play in Houston. And the first pitch, a ball. Felix Jose, and he takes all the way, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Going back and missing, 2-1. No action in the bullpen for the Mets as they start this inning with a 4-run lead. swing? He did not, according to Jim Quick, the third base umpire. That puts a count at 3-1. A walk here should make Bud Harrelson nervous enough to get his bullpen going. And there's a strike and a swing, too. Bud Harrelson, the manager of the Mets. And there is strike 3 called. So Cone comes back from a 3-1 count, picks up a strikeout, his 11th of the ball game, and he gets his first out here in the 9th inning. David Cone with his 11th strikeout, and that'll bring up Todd Zeile, who has struck out all 3 times he has been up. And he goes after a fastball and fouls it off.
Todd is married to a former U.S. Olympic gymnastic gold medal winner, Julianne McNamara. She'll be working with NBC on the Barcelona Olympics.
Strike count is a ball, and it's 1-1. In case you didn't know this, this is one of the most important stats. When Zeile hit his first home run for the St. Louis Cardinals, it gave them, and this ball fouled back out of play. They became the first team in Major League Baseball to have a home run hit by every player with a last name that started with every letter in the alphabet.
Is that right?
Isn't that a big stat?
That's a good stat.
With the exception of one. Can you guess what letter that no one has ever hit a home run?
X.
That is correct.
I'll tell you another one, Ralph. In 1970, they started putting names on the back of uniforms. One player had his name and his number and his birthday all on his back.
I know that one.
You know them all.
I know that one.
Carlos May.
All right.
May 17th.
So a base hit for Zeile. He's now 1 for 4 after breaking the string of 3 straight strikeouts, and that'll bring up Geronimo Pena. There has never been a player playing in the major leagues whose last name started with an X.
Might not have been anybody anywhere whose name started with an X.
But there is a player named Xavier who is playing in the minor leagues. And somehow or other, he might get to the major leagues. And he would be the first to ever get to the major leagues whose last name started with an X.
Of course, we had the great double X of years ago.
Jimmy Fox.
In the Hall of Fame with you as a home run hitter.
Boy, he had some stats that you cannot believe. People just seem to forget Jimmy Fox, one of the greatest hitters that ever lived. Here's our stat on the complete games by the Mets. We mentioned it earlier, 4 total, with a 5th to be added on if Cohen can finish this one. And the pitch is fouled off as Pena goes after the breaking ball, and they count 1 and 2.
One of the remarkable stats, Ralph, is, of course, this is the 50th anniversary of the 56-game hitting streak of DiMaggio, and the last player to hit 400, Ted Williams. But the Major League RBI record is over 60 years old. Hack Wilson of the Cubs in 1930 drove in 190 runs.
190 runs. American League record 184 by Lou Gehrig. A swing and a miss, and Cohen gets his 12th strikeout. And he is 1 out away from picking up the victory.
And that was the same year that Hack Wilson set the National League home run record of 56, which you almost measured up to with your 54 and 51.
56 home runs still stands as a National League high.
And yours was second best.
54. Now Bud Harrelson looking on as Tom Pagnozzi takes the first pitch for strike 1. Cohen just 6 strikeouts behind Doc Gooden for the National League lead now with his 12 strikeouts in this game, and that pitch a ball, and it's 1-1.
David has a live arm. It looks like he's throwing harder now than he did at the outset.
He's really settled in since giving up 2 runs and 4 hits in the third. He's allowed only 2 hits since then.
Break on that. Man.
What a breaking ball.
Now they're up and cheering, and this terrific for David Cohn and the Mets.
And there's another, and it is a big night here for the Mets as he gets a standing ovation. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The crowd applauding now for the strikeout, and he misses with a fastball. It's 3-2. So 3-2, 2 men out. The runner at first base, Todd Zeile, will be running with the pitch. And there is action in the bullpen for the Mets. The runner goes, a 3-2 pitch line down the right field line, and it's curving foul. So they'll do it all over again. In the bullpen for the Mets, John Franco. Soft tossing just in case. Mets leading 6-2, 2 men out, top of the 9th inning.
Joe Torre was saying the Mets worked out John Franco when he was in high school when Joe was the manager here.
And the 3-2 pitch hit back to Cohn, and that should do it. The Mets win it 6-2. So David Cohn, the winning pitcher, his first complete game, the 5th by a Mets pitcher this year. He's now 4-3 in the year. Ended up striking out 12 batters to take over second place in the National League, second to the Doctor, Dwight Gooden, and the losing pitcher, Brent Smith. His record now 4-2. And we'll be back for the recap right after this word from the 9X Yellow Pages.